Alex here with a high conflict child custody video on helping you help yourself. This is going to go over a new, I guess I'm going to call it subtopic for what will also be partially a replacement video. I'll mention the replacement portions later on. So, the epiphany I had was that the biggest reason, and this isn't the only reason, so even if this didn't apply to some people, there still are other reasons, but the biggest reason that, in my opinion, other people can't really help you with your high conflict child custody case is because of issues that are not legal. Basically, this is going to be one of those tough love videos. And this isn't going to apply to everybody evenly. It'll apply to some people more than others. But one of the things about these high conflict child custody cases and any kind of child custody litigation is that the law is only part of the equation. And a lot of the people who send emails and ask for help, um, they think, hey, I just need to tell you my terrible situation, and then you'll obviously want to help me. Well, like I said, guys, I'm going to move most of the legal reasons as to why somebody can't do that towards the back of the video. But I am going to talk about the non legal reason right now, which is that in many, many cases, maximizing the likelihood of success on a high conflict child custody case requires changing the facts, which is only a short step away from changing the parent. As in, there are a lot of parents that are doing things that are very harmful to their cases that don't even have anything to do with the law. It's just them doing things that they shouldn't be doing, communicating in ways that they shouldn't be communicating. And while a lot of the stuff, if not all of the stuff in some cases is justified, it doesn't make it easier. It makes it actually a lot harder. The more that's introduced before the court, the more difficult it is, the murkier it is, and the easier it is for an attorney to exploit it and complicate it and make it seem like it's two bad parents. And that is all going to get in the way. And so helping somebody with a high conflict child custody case is a whole lot more than just helping somebody with the law. It's trying to help them understand that they need to maximize their chance of winning. They need to work around the court's dysfunction, which means rather than think I'm going to go into a court and explain these 7 or 8 crazy things that I did, it's better to just not have done the crazy things. And that's kind of what I really wanted to lead off with in this video. That's what's missing from all of the other videos that I'm going to kind of roll into this, is that I haven't talked about the fact that one of the biggest things that has to change in a lot of these cases is the conduct of the parent, which isn't a legal thing. It could be bad habits, it could be bad triggers, it could be reacting when they should try harder not to react, it could be all sorts of things that have nothing to do with the law. And how do you really help somebody with that? That's something that's more for a therapist to do or a counselor to do. It's not really something, I mean, a friend can kind of help you and explain there's issues here, but who's going to help you get, down and into those issues? Probably going to be an expert, or if not an expert, yourself. It's not going to be somebody from the outside. And these cases are so draining on the actual litigant. Keep in mind, they are still draining on non-litigants who have to hear about it, who have to try and, give you a shoulder to cry on and understand you. And so when they see that there's issues with the parent that aren't even legal issues, it's very much a reason to not get involved. And I think that, this is one of the biggest reasons that it's hard to get third party providers like teachers and doctors involved. Because if they can see it, they oftentimes are like, these are two bad parents. I'm not going to get involved. It's not going to make the situation better. A lot of times there are parents who feel like they have all sorts of issues, but their ex is worse. Well, that's not a really inspiring reason to jump in and help somebody. It's just not. And I know that people are like, oh, they're way, way worse. They've done all these terrible crimes. I've got issues too, but it's it's not really, the cases are so difficult to wade through that unless it's crystal clear, people don't want to touch it. And so that's another thing I guess I could talk about is a lot of times people, they have like a 32-page background of their case. that's not actually something that's going to help other people help you. And in fact, there's nothing really that you can do in a lot of these situations. If there's 32 pages of a background, it's already there. There's no way to erase the past. All of that's happened. This is why, in so many of these situations, probably 99% of the situations, the only one who can help is an attorney or you yourself, just representing yourself. If you're representing yourself, not only do you have control over the laws that you present, but you also have control over yourself in a way that an attorney doesn't. So I hope that this video is not seen as a negative video. I'm trying to get people to understand that one of the biggest reasons it's hard for other people to help with a child custody case is because a big part of that, maybe even more than half of that, is trying to figure out how to change you. And it's not an easy thing to talk to people about. Most of the time, if somebody tries to tell you you need to change, it triggers this defensive reaction. It's very normal. It's normal. And so people just don't do it. They just kind of make the observations, keep them in their own head, and they don't say anything. So yeah, that's just one of the tough things about high conflict child custody cases, is that they're fact intensive, and it's only a short step away from the parents themselves and what they're doing. So as I mentioned earlier, this video is going to replace 6 other videos. I'm going to mention them now. Growing Fast, It's Your Job to Take Action, Coaching, Who Cares, Advice from Friends and Family, and Social Media. I do have quite a few changes, and I at least want to summarize sort of my thoughts over, I guess, the years. Some of these videos are pretty old on these before I wrap this up. As I mentioned in the video, Growing Fast, you really can't take your time when it comes to a legal case. You really have to take a look at yourself in the mirror, identify areas of improvement, and grow as quickly as you can, because the court system, once an order is entered, it can be changed, but it takes a long time. For many of my viewers here, months, sometimes years. And so if you don't want to suffer the consequences of those delays and of the speed of the court system, which is very slow, then you really do have to grapple with your issues immediately and resolve them as quickly as you can, because they're going to impact your case. If you take a very, very long time to sort out your issues, and a lot of us have issues. I talk about mine in the video, self-love deficit disorder. A lot of people wonder how I even ended up with my ex, and I talk about it in that video. If you take too long, you could end up with an adverse outcome later on, have figured a lot of this stuff out, and then find yourself in a situation where you either can't change the decision of the court, or it's extortionately, priced. You have to pay for the attorney and go through the trial and all that. It's quicker, it's cheaper, it's probably better on you and your kids to just face these issues immediately and make the changes as quickly as you can, especially if they have to do with addiction. Because, like I mentioned, they could control the outcome of your case. And if you think you're just going to be able to come back to court whenever you want and fix everything and change all of the orders of the court, you're sorely mistaken. Some people get lucky and they pull it off. Others never do. And some people pull it off after spending $25,000, $50,000, $75,000. So definitely grapple with your issues quickly. With the video, It's Your Job to Take Action, I explain that you're the one that has the power to litigate. If you're the parent, you're the one that can file papers, pleadings. You're the one that can file appeals. Other people, like teachers, parents, siblings, friends, there's only so much they can do. Oftentimes, the best thing they can do is bankroll your case, but that comes with all sorts of issues. All sorts of issues. In fact, when it comes to, I always warn people, if you're facing an opponent who's bankrolled, is they're oftentimes 10 times worse, because they have an attorney and they're not even paying for them. So they don't have the sort of restraint on themselves. That kind of in the back of their mind, I need to be reasonable, otherwise I'm going to spend $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. A lot of times a bankrolled person thinks, I don't have to pay anything. My mom's going to pay. And so the situation isn't usually good. It's better to just take responsibility for your case and litigate it. I also talk a little bit about why you should not rely on the police and CPS, with the very, very limited exceptions that those entities have to help you. A lot of people put way too much on the police and CPS. Way, way too much. And I think it's because it's free. When you try and do it yourself, especially if you have an attorney, you have to pay thousands of dollars. but it's free to pick up the phone and call the police, file a report, and it's free to pick up the phone, call CPS, file a report. And so I think, really what's attractive about it is that it just doesn't cost any money. And so people are drawn to that like a moth to flame. And there are other videos that explain why that is a dangerous way to think about your case, because it can give you false senses of security that lead you to make mistakes that are not in any way consistent with the law. If you want to learn more about that, watch my video on the topic, abuse and neglect proceedings. And then I have another video titled CPS, filing reports, CPS and police. In the video coaching, I explained that I don't do coaching. Really, I have like 3 times, maybe 4 times. And it was with viewers who had watched almost the entire channel, and they had questions that were technical and legal. Most of the other people who want coaching, I would say 99%, they're not asking for technical legal information. They're asking for legal advice. And that comes in the form of, here's all the things that are going on. What should I do? Only an attorney can help you with that kind of question. If you're telling somebody, here's all of the things that are going on, what should I do? You're actually giving them the facts and circumstances of your case, and you're asking how to apply the law to it, or you're asking for a legal strategy. All of that's legal advice. If you're asking, hey, Alex, I was doing some research on res judicata principles. I was learning that with issue preclusion, A, B, and C applies, and with claim preclusion, D and E applies, and I'm trying to understand why the Supreme Court in this case held that with issue preclusion, those are legal information questions. Non-attorneys can answer those questions, though non-attorneys usually don't have the answers to them. And usually the only people that ask me those questions are the people who have watched like the entire channel and they figured it out, and they don't tell me about their case at all. They just have technical legal questions. They don't even tell me about what's going on in their case. If you do that, that's something I can actually help with. But like I said, it's so rare that I've only done coaching like 3 times, and it's like, what does that amount to? Like once every 2 years? It's super, super rare that I do it. I don't even talk about it. In the video, Who Cares? I explained that it's a really dark video because I explained that nobody cares. Really, the truth is that the judges and lawyers do care in a very limited way. And I think that that's really all they can do. I think if you have attorneys and, not attorneys, if you have judges that care too much. Okay, I'm back. I had to take the kid to school, so hopefully I don't repeat myself. But I remember leaving off with Who Cares, and I do have some more thoughts on this. I initially did this video saying nobody cares, lawyers don't care, judges don't care. And so you have to, because you're really the only one. Friends and family can care to a certain extent, but it's really going to come down to you. But now I have sort of an addendum that I want to add to this. Is that in hindsight, I'm not sure that we would have a very good system if the judges cared too much, in the sense that it made them go beyond the limits of their powers. And that's one of the problems that I talk about with discretion and judges just flat out breaking the law. So, I do want to mention that before I just kind of made everyone look bad in the legal system. Attorneys, you're going to get varying degrees of how much they care, and it's usually based on how well you pay. And I talk about that in the video, A Tale of Two Lawyers. In fact, you should probably watch that video, because in that video I explain that it's not really so much that they're cold-hearted as more like different business models require different levels of attention. And I talk about that in A Tale of Two Lawyers. So please take a look at it, because it's really easy to kind of take my comments as flippant, but I've actually thought about this a lot, and I have other videos that go more into that. So yeah, I do think that I do think that judges have to care. Obviously they're in a position of incredible power, but that maybe my idea that they should care more than the parents, or even as much as the parents, is not only unrealistic, but not a good thing. So yeah, I wanted to add to that, and I hope that you guys can understand where I'm coming from, and really, you're going to have the best chance of success if you realize that you're going to be the one that has to care the most, and that you're going to have to do things about your situation, both legal and non-legal, to help you get your case to the place it needs to be that's best for your kids. Advice from friends and family. I really warned people about this. A lot of times, friends and family are just going to tell you what you want to hear, especially because they feel bad for you. And they're not going to want to usually level with you or give you tough love. And sometimes, if you really surround yourself in a strong enough echo chamber of friends and family, you're going to end up making the wrong decisions because you're going to think that their perceptions are going to be consistent with the court's perception. And so be careful with that. Be really careful with that. If you have an attorney, follow your attorney's advice. If you don't have an attorney, be as objective as you can. Pay very close attention to cues from both the judge and the lawyers. Pay attention because these are the perspectives and the opinions that are going to control the outcome of your case and basically your family, since you're going through a child custody or and or divorce situation. So I warn people about that. Some people are like, hey, everybody says I should have won, everybody loves me, everybody's saying this and this, and yet the judge said the otherwise or said the opposite, and the judge is evil or they don't get it or they're stupid. It's like, well, your friends and family see a one-sided picture. I mean, the court's going to look at evidence from both sides. And the last thing I wanted to mention is social media. Kind of lumped it in here just because I wanted to address it. Back then, I really warned people against using social media. It's very different now. It's surprising how quickly things can change. There are, I guess maybe COVID has at least some hand in this, because a lot of the family courts started to put their stuff on YouTube, and just it seems like the attitude has changed a lot since I did that video. You should obviously comply with your court's orders. I mean, if there's an anti-disparagement clause, even if there isn't one, don't disparage your ex on social media. They're just going to use it against you. It's just going to become another tool. If you're going to disparage your ex, first off, you can't do it in front of the kids, period, because that's a best interest issue. It shouldn't be on social media public like that, because number one, it really looks bad. And number two, the lawyers will use it against you. But all of the other things that I mentioned in that video, like YouTube channels and going on and doing interviews, it seems like the courts have really backed off of this. There were First Amendment issues that were raised in Florida with a family court judge that said somebody couldn't do something. I think they couldn't do interviews, or I don't remember what it was. All I know is that the First Amendment triggered and protected that parent from that family court judge. So it seems like within reason you can use social media now, and of course we're getting cameras in family court here in Nevada. CPS court has their stuff on YouTube in Texas. So it does seem like this has changed a lot. I think it's time for me to remove that video and replace it with these comments. As with any court case, you want to be really careful about what you say to the press, including YouTube channels are starting to become the press now. So be very careful about what you say. At the same time, the sort of rule to never go on is not really a good rule. I've been very interested lately in attorneys who are both masters of the law and of public opinion or the press. It's really interesting, this rare handful of attorneys that seems to understand that they need to represent their client, not just in the courtroom, and they do a really good job at it. And I really think that that's one of the beautiful things about democracy. And the Constitution even says in criminal cases, you're entitled to not just a speedy trial, but a public trial too. Speedy and public trial includes talking to the public. So of course that's criminal law, but it's one of the things that I've been looking at the past 6 months, and it's got me very intrigued. And so another dynamic to how to deal with a legal situation that I never thought about when I first created this channel is the perspective of the public and interaction with the public. Lots of cool stuff going on with regards to social media and family court cases now. So hopefully this is something that betters the system, and I guess we're going to find out in a few years whether or not there's a lot of resistance to it. But I think that is going to wrap up everything that I wanted to mention in this video, guys. As with my previous videos, feel free to post your comments, questions and comments down into the comments below, or you can send me an email at admin@theproperperson.com.